Well, I've wanted to be a world champion since day one, and I started riding motorbikes when I was 4 years old, and I just enjoyed it a lot, and I rode most days, and then from there I became better every time, and I started racing when I was 11. My dad started taking me to some races, and I started improving, and it's what I wanted to do. Although my focus was more so on America, I was reading all the American magazines, and Bradshaw and Stanton were heroes, and Jean-Michel Bale. For some reason, the World Championships just appealed to me, which was strange because, like I said, America was more my focus because it was what I was reading about and watching. But I wanted to come and do World Championships. I wanted to be world champion. So slowly I started to improve more and more. And when I was 17, I came to Europe. I'd won some New Zealand titles, and I came on my own when I was 17 over here, which was quite hard because being from New Zealand, it's a long way away from Europe, and it's also so different than Europe. You know, it was the first time I'd seen Europeans that didn't speak English, and it was kind of weird for me. It took a long time, and to be honest, the first 3 years I didn't really improve or go anywhere because I was more so focused on trying to survive, and I was young and a little bit naive, and I was more so focusing on trying to survive rather than improve as a rider. And because I was alone, I had all sorts of pressures on me for things like paying rent and having enough money to live and going from race to race, how I was going to get there, how I was going to do it, which my parents always took care for me in the past. So the first 3 years I was kind of struggling, and then I started to improve, and I slowly worked my way up. The first year I was 41st in the world, second year 23, I think, 17 and 97. 98 was kind of a breakthrough year. I started getting some top 10 results and finished 13th in the world. Then 99 was one of my years when I thought, okay, I'm going to achieve my goal. I moved up to 7th in the world. I had a podium, and that was the first time I felt, okay, I'm really going to be able to make this work. And then from 2000 I became a factory rider, still riding for Suzuki. I rode for Suzuki all my career at that stage. And I finished 4th in the world in 2000, and 2001 kind of struggled a bit that year. It was the first year that I went backwards. The first year I didn't improve as a rider really, and I finished 6th and just kept chipping away at it. Finished 2nd in 2002 to Mikel Pichon. That was the last year of 252 strokes, then it went to MX1. 2003 on, I've been top 3 in the world every year unless I've been injured. So I've been 2nd now 2 or 3 times. I've been 3rd twice. I've been everything. I've been 4th. I've been 5th. I've been 6th. I've been 7th. I've been everything but 1st. So it's been a long road. I've improved every year. I'm not one of those riders like a Filippo or a Corsell or a Townley that really burst on the scene and became really strong and really fast at a young age, but I'm still quite proud of what I've achieved because I've worked hard, and I'm not a really technically good rider, but I have a lot of fight and I do my best week in, week out, and now I'm in a position where I can hopefully win the championship in 2008. Okay, I have to talk a little bit about 2007 first, really, to move on to 2008. 2007 was my first year with Yamaha. I've ridden for 3 manufacturers in my career. First Suzuki for 21 years until I was 25, and then I rode for Honda for 4 years, and now I'm riding at factory Yamaha. I took over Stefan Evert's ride in 2007, and I had a lot of pressure because I was expected to win, and it was a tough move. We had some problems with the bike, not problems, but it took me a while to get adjusted. But anyway, I won 5 Grand Prix. I had a lot of podiums, and I had until the Grand Prix, I think Grand Prix 10, I had a 107-point lead. I was leading the championship comfortably, and we had a mechanical failure, and I had a big crash and broke my shoulder. So that was the end of the year for me, and that was disappointing because of the build-up I just told you before. I explained everything. Until that time, it was really a general progression, and I honestly believe I was the best last year and that I was going to win. So after that injury and after losing the championship like that, I lost the championship and I finished third in the world, and I missed a quarter of the season. So there's some, obviously losing the championship was really heartbreaking for me, but there's a lot of good points as well. To be able to say I finished third in the world, I missed a quarter of the season, I had the most podiums, I had the most laps led, I had the most race victories, and I missed 5 out of 15 races. So I'm quite proud of that. So there are some good points to take, and that gives me motivation for this year. Every time I sit down and people start to talk to me about the riders that I'm about to come up against, in my eyes, they have to improve a lot to be able to challenge me when you look at last year's results. It was my first year on the Yamaha, and we had some problems adapting to the bike. Stefan Everts was a special rider, and nobody rides like Stefan, and it took myself and the team a while to adjust to become good on the bike, and yet still we had great results. So after losing the championship like that, I had some downtime. I was a little bit, I wouldn't say depressed, but just upset, and I had a bit of a couple of weeks, or a week I think, of doing nothing and just thinking about really starting to work on 2008. From there, it's been a general progression from that point to where we are today. I started training again, first of all, to try and work on the shoulder to try to make it strong again after the injury. I started doing some races at the end of the year and some testing. So in October, we started testing already the 2008 bike and working on that. I had 2 weeks in Italy working on that. I did a few races before I left Europe because I wanted to. I'm happiest when I race. You know, the reason I do all this is to race. I don't particularly enjoy everything around the sport, but I love the racing. That's what I'm here for. So I did a few races, then I headed back to New Zealand. I had 2 weeks off, and then I started my build-up for 2008. You know, the easiest way to explain the training is it's kind of like a banking system. You bank away all the hours of training, and it's like almost like an account that you start drawing from through the year. You bank away all the hours of cycling, running, swimming, riding, testing, and these are all hours that through the year you kind of you use. If you don't have those hours and you get halfway through the season, they're all gone, you're running on empty, and it's very hard to try to win a championship like that. That's the easiest way to explain it. So that's why I start training so early and start trying to work on lots of things. When we're training, we're not only training to be stronger and fitter, we're training also to be faster. So we're training to try and be better riders. We're learning about our technique, about the bike, about tyres, about so many things. And in motocross, it's not like car racing, for instance, where you have a technician or a computer analysing every part. In motocross, it's more so I'm analysing it along with my 1 or 2 mechanics. So there's so much to think about. And not only are we analysing the bike and the parts and what each part's doing, we're also analysing my condition, everything. So my strength, what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, and all these things. So that's basically a 2 to 3 month period right through Christmas, and I come back to Europe at the end of January. I would prefer to stay on in New Zealand. It's summertime, and I have much better facilities for training in New Zealand and good weather, so I'd prefer to be there. But Yamaha need me back here. We do a kind of final shakedown of testing where I've done all the main testing before I went home, but when I get back, all the parts which I've chosen have arrived, and I have to retest them to make sure they're all correct. Then we start to do what they call pre-season races. I don't really like pre-season races. That's just personally, because the weather's cold, the tracks are not very nice because of the weather. It can be wet, can be frozen, can be all these things. And you're kind of not there really to win. I go to races to win, and you're kind of there to train, you're there to learn about the bike, you're there to learn about your competition. And to be honest, I would almost prefer to rock up a little bit American style to the first race ready to go. But we need to do this, not only for myself but for the team, for the guys, the mechanics and everyone. They need to know about the bikes and whatnot. And then from after those races, we normally have a few weeks free where we try to think on our weaknesses. So we say, okay, how's the riding going? How's the races gone? Are we fit enough? Are we fast enough? Is the bike good enough? And that's our final sort of time where we work out what we need to improve on before GP1, and that's where we're at right now.